Right everyone, I'm here today to look at stripping down the MC8. Terry's just started his MC6 and he's had a few bearing failures and so on. So it's about time I did this and so on. I am also waiting on some new dampers for this particular one here. Has clearly given up the ghost. The damper on this side is knackered. So that's my Saturday afternoon, I think, and I'm going to document it along the way. I hate taking the cab off. I'm really not looking forward to that at all. Anyway, let's get to it, shall we? Right. Okay. So that was done without drama. As I say, I've got some shock upgrades coming for upgraded shocks, which I'm planning on doing to the front axle. Right. So axle number 1 is off. I've cleaned the bench because there's a lot of mud and filth came with it, so there'll be a little bit of a clean goes on. Yeah, it seems okay, just a bit, there's a few notches in it. It doesn't seem like it's running quite as smooth as it should, so I'm going to I'll get the diff cover off and see what the deal is. I haven't taken the drive shaft off because I'm not convinced that little drive shaft grub screw isn't going to strip, and that would obviously be fairly catastrophic. So let's see, let's get in there and have a look at it. Right, so I've just popped the diff cover off and take a look at that. I mean, there's no dirt in there. The inside is kind of spotless. There is still some grease in there. So, well done, that's awesome. Yeah, wicked. Okay, onwards. Okay, so the situation is the report from axle number 1. Very nice and clean inside, as you've seen. Really no issues in there at all. Still grease and so on. The inside of the axle is very nice and clean. The bearings have obviously stopped any of the stuff coming through. When I mounted the plate, before I assembled the truck, I took these off and I put a bunch of grease around the plate before I put it onto the axle, which I would like to hope has helped to keep a lot of the stuff out of the diff. So that's a win. The diff gear itself is pretty much spotless. There's a little couple of bits of grit on it now off the desk when it fell out, but yeah, I mean the bearing edges, everything's lovely and clean. Not a sound. Beautiful. So that's all good and gonna stay hopefully clean. So yeah, I can imagine me replacing the two ends, the two end ones out of the steering hubs, which have done their job beautifully, and the two larger ones from inside. That does seem to be the extent of the damage. Right, so axle number 2 is off, and like axle number 1, it is nice and clean inside, which is cool. I haven't got anything like the build-up of muck, and as I think I showed you in the previous clip, it rotates really nice and freely, so I don't expect to be taking any of the bearings and throwing them out, but we'll let's have a little look. I think it should just, if I got all the fixings out, there we go. Okay, so let's check this one. Yeah, the bearing's a little dirty, but silent as you like. And this one, again, rotating really nice and freely. Little bit of grime, but they're doing a great job of keeping the muck out of the central chamber, which as you can see is spotless. Yeah, wicked, well done, nice one Cross, good axles. The diff spins perfectly freely. Yeah, nice work. Okay, so these bearings all look fine. I can check the dog bones, but again they look, you know, they're rotating. No great shakes in there. Yeah, so I'll take them out, give them a grease in, but no replacements needed. Sweet. Right, good morning. It's Sunday now, and I've put axle 2 back together again, and it is turning really nice and quietly. I've also swapped the red springs in on the second axle, so I've now got much stiffer suspension on this second axle, which is cool. I did mention I've got new dampers coming, but I thought they might have been here yesterday, so I could have put those on, but I put the red springs on, and that'll be that. Let's catch up when it's done. Axle number 1 is part complete. I'm just about to fasten her up, close her up. So I'll just give you a quick look at the inside before I do, without ideally dropping it. Okay, so we've got 2 bearings this side, which I've replaced with some spare rubber sealed ones, and the original steel ones are still in. These bigger ones are in there. There are shims between the bearings to stop any kind of play on the shaft. They come in as part of the axle, and yeah, she's ready to close. So everything's well greased, all the teeth are greased, bearings are greased, and yeah, ready to close up. In terms of grease, it seems to be a fairly popular thing to talk about, and again, I'm not preaching that this is the way to do it, but this is what I use if you're interested. So I've got a big tube of silver hook made in England, hooray, white grease, water repellent. This is good value. It was, I don't know, a couple of quid. I mean, it's not. So this is basically what I use to just slather grease everywhere. I've got some sweep silicone grease, a little tub of this, which is one of the first things I bought, which I like to use in diffs, but obviously there's not much of it, so I use it quite sparingly. And likewise the ubiquitous green slime, which is also fairly small, so I use that sparingly as well. So what I'll do on the main diff gears is like every 4 or 5 teeth I'll put some green on, and then I'll go and do the middle ones with the silicone grease, and then I'll put some white grease over the top. So it all ends up blending together into some kind of you know, unpleasant concoction. I use a paintbrush to put it on with, just so you know, I think that's a good idea, because otherwise you get your fingers coated, you get grease everywhere. I don't like doing this because I end up dropping stuff, because your fingers get slippy. So the less slippy your fingers get, the better. So I use a paintbrush. You can jam it into the bearings, and you can get into places with the brush that you would struggle otherwise. You don't want to be cramming that in there and this kind of thing. So I use an old paintbrush to put the grease on with. Oh, and look, the front diff cover is my little grease receptacle for painting it out of. Yeah, so let's get it together, and then once the whole thing's assembled, we'll have a little look and see how smooth it runs. Okay, so we're back, and axles are both on. Shush, Servo. So both the axles are back on, and I'm just going to spin it up for you so you can hear what it sounds like. I haven't done the gearbox, remember. That's going to get done when the motor gets changed. Seems nice and quiet. Yeah. I've sort of messed about a little bit with the steering as well, just to try and balance it out, make sure that it was pointing straight. The truck was drifting a little bit to the left, So I clearly had some alignment issue somewhere, which I believe I've sorted out now. Proof will be in the pudding, obviously, but for now, job's a good one. All right, I'm not going to do the back, as I say. I don't think there's anything wrong in there, and I'm not going to, take it apart for no great reason. Screw a strip of thread or something while you're messing about with stuff that doesn't need fixing is a little bit annoying, so I'm going to leave it for now. If you've ever wondered how these things turn, how the servo is set up, let me show you while I've got it on the bench. The servo is mounted vertically, and it mounts straight into this supplied plastic arm, which and it's connected to the so it's connected to the front and back turning axles, so it's two-sided. Yeah, so you get the opposite effect on each end, which has the effect of turning the wheels the same direction. Very weird, but yeah, there it is. Alright guys, I guess that's a wrap.